Everybody doing? Having a good summit? Awesome. Well, today I want to talk to you about something a little different. You've seen some really cool things here this week and some really deep things, and maybe there's some things that went over your head that you're going to maybe realize later in your career as you're working, and then that will make sense. That's very normal, just so you know, if that happened to you. Today, that is not going to be the deal here. If you're not careful, it might go under your feet. So a long time ago, I started, you guys that know my story, I started at a very low level, the lowest of levels, actually. And if that guy was here, I would be embarrassed of what he would think about what I'm about to talk about, because he would have absolutely missed it. So let's say that Lee's in this chair, okay? Please don't be that Lee. And then we've got Lee 10 years ago that would have also said some ignorant things to what I'm about to say, and he's probably sitting in this chair. And then even 2 years ago, I've finally got things figured out. He's sitting in this chair. Don't get caught up if you think that you know everything there is to know about shoeing. You're about to get woke up by the world. You will come back to reality. And thinking that we have it figured out, I think, is one of the worst curses that we can have in this industry. An open mind, looking around, maybe somebody else does know more about this than I do, is a great reality. So what I talk about, my prayer, my hope, is don't think like these idiots would have about this. Think about how you can apply it and a deeper understanding. You know, the better off, I'm going to quote some really influential and famous people in our industry, and they're going to talk about very basic level stuff. And you're going to be like, I got this, no problem. Well, I hope when I'm done that you question that, because it's been good for me. So where are you today, and where do you plan to be in that journey? Because I told you that I was here, and this guy had it all figured out. Life was pretty easy. You just don't touch the heel. You nailed the shoe on with the heel nails. You rasp the foot down to the shoe, and then put the nails in, because that makes sense, right? Nice and stood up. Life was easy. And then all shoes were silly. You just needed to use a couple shoes if you knew what you were doing, said this guy. This guy thought you could save everything with a set of x-rays. And the reality is that I hope I'm sitting down there when the next time you talk to me, because I want to keep growing. So when you think about your shoeing career, where are you at in these chairs? Because good education, good learning lasts a lifetime, and that's where I hope you see yourself. So I want to talk about history and Facebook. So you're going to hear me talk about cool people like, say, Bernie Chapman and stuff like that. How is that relevant to our life today? We get on Facebook, and there's some great groups, like Farrier Q&A. You've got Respectful Discussions 101. There's some great, good content on there. Would you guys agree? Good content's on Facebook? The problem is that the arguments that happen on Facebook, I really very much dislike. Why? Because you don't get the whole argument. You ever seen Dave Farley engage in an argument on Facebook? No. What about Bob Pethick? What about Travis Burns? No. You're Grant Moon. You ever seen Grant Moon call somebody out? Hey, that's stupid. No, you see some guy who barely knows what he's talking about arguing, right? So my reality that I've come to is this, in a case in point. What's everybody think about that trim right there? Everybody like it? Pretty balanced? No. Now it is. I successfully saved that poor animal, right? I am a hero. This is what you'll see on Facebook, and you'll see in articles. You know, this was the poster child, I won't say in what, but this x-ray that we did of that foot was the poster child of a very successful article. Here's the problem. Are all 2 feet the same? Are all 2 feet the same? No. That's the easy one. Of course it looks right. You've been lied to. And you've been lied to by me. On accident. If I did, I'm sorry. But I've tried really hard on my social media platform. They all kind of do the same thing. They say, hey, I'm Lee. This is what we're doing today. Have a great day. And God bless America. But without knowing it, I have been a big problem in some of the horses' careers. And today is going to be filled with a lot more failures than successes, but I hope that you can grasp onto the take-home message that I have for you. So, meet Junior. So Junior is an NFR barrel horse. He is not only just an NFR barrel horse, he set the arena record there a little while ago. But he's got flat feet, and he does well in rockers. You know, I've always So we don't need that breakover shoe. We don't need that long arm on it. You see how that one gets out to the end of the toe a little bit better? Well, we don't need that because the feet just hated it, and the barrel horses in reality don't run as good with the big slippery breakover shoes. But we have had success with some of them. Like I told you, we had a barrel horse win Fort Worth in a breakover shoe. So we're like, oh, well, maybe it does work. But then the rest of the data tells you complaint after complaint. So, need to change him up. So what we're gonna do is put him in a normal shoe. That'll work. We'll just pull him back. Yeah. So, when you look at this x-ray, what do you guys see? Somebody fire one off at me. What do you see? Not much sole. Good eye. Yes, not much sole, mainly because I stripped this horse down so much and set the shoe back. Well, guess what? Feet really hate that too. So this foot is falling apart. But luckily, I'm here to save it though, even though I caused it. And I'm gonna cast this thing up, and I'm gonna get him shot up. And x-rays, I think they look pretty darn good. But to me, it's living a lie, because if you're not balancing the whole horse, you're sending him backwards. And I was 100% sending this horse backwards. And the cool thing is that I've been shoeing this horse since 22, so it's been lots of ups and downs. Question of the day: does setting the shoe back change the palmar angle? Yes or no? Anybody? I think that says no. Not in my opinion anyway. So, a lot of times we can make these feet look better, more gathered by pulling them back, right? Well, that's a short-term gain, long-term loss. We're going to show you why. So, ultimately, I'm showing you the bad foot on this horse. It's the low foot, the one that we struggle with. And so now we're skipping years and we're trying all this stuff. We've had this horse in every pad you can think of, every shoe you can think of, okay? We finally start getting him trimmed a little better. And what'd you see in the first slide? Not a lot of sole. Pretty good amount of sole right there, huh? So I think that's a pretty well-balanced foot for a low foot. Should it be on your business card? Probably not. But for this horse, pretty good. So I had Mark Caldwell come over about 10 years ago, and he was talking about rockers, and I was like, oh, what a great idea, mechanics. You know, maybe you had a moment like that here. You'd be like, oh, mechanics, they're going to save my horses. Well, I tried them then, and they sucked. Like the feet looked long. I don't know how I didn't get fired from everybody. So the rocker toes were clearly stupid. Well, I encourage you to look at this. Do you like that angle? Do you like that angle? No. Sure looked good on the foot though. Well, then we got to see an x-ray of it, and it turns out the secret to a rocker is the trim under the rocker. So literally the only difference between that and this is changing the trim in the toe quarters to where it sets down into it. So you can create breakover with your trim. Novel idea. Don't be this guy. Don't be thinking that it's a basic, you got the trimming figured out, because I thought I had it figured out, and this is literally me showing you my failures in trimming, in short. So Dusty Franklin is a good friend of mine, and about 10 years ago or so, about when I'm sitting in this chair, he says, if you want to learn how to fit feet, then you need to nail on a sure fit and toe clip it on the hind. I nearly laughed at him. I was like, that is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. Why would I ever do that? And because I'm thinking about competition farriery and traditional style competitor, or whatever you want to call it, they look long. I don't want a long foot. I want a short foot. You know, work on performance horses. That's a big thing. You'll get fired if you can't figure out how to get the toe short. So back we go. That was a big influence in setting feet back. Well, as I'm learning, now I'm telling you, if I get in trouble on a hind foot, I will absolutely toe clip them. Why? It has nothing to do with the toe clip. It makes me fit the foot better, and then the feet get better, and then the negative plantar angles slowly start to go away once you fit the foot. Crazy. Dusty wasn't crazy. Don't be this guy. Dusty said, you don't want to be the farrier and with 1 year of education for 20 years of experience. Don't be the same farrier every year. Keep going back to the basics. Dusty truly believes that certifications and competitions will set you apart and help you on that journey. I'm living proof of that the more you learn, it's like the more comes into your scope. And when you're first starting, when you're right here, you've got everything figured out in that little scope, and then you get here and it gets a little bigger, and then you get here and it gets a little bigger, and by where I'm at, wherever I am, I'm like, I don't really know if I want to talk about it, because I'm just saying this is what I'm doing now. It's probably going to change. So meet Buzz. So this is a fun horse. This is a big-time barrel horse, long and low. This is his foot, okay? And he's high-low to boot, just to make it more fun, right? And the high foot, I could show you that picture just like I did earlier of that other horse, and it would look good. I'd know what I'm doing and make a great business card. This foot, however, will get you fired. This has been a struggle, okay? So I've been shoeing this horse for a couple years now, and this is what he looked like when he came to us. So step one was breakover, 3D pad. Breakover shoe. I think this foot looks pretty good. Wouldn't we all be excited about the changes in that? Right? Well, that's good. But I'm going to show you 3 cases, and these have been some of the hardest cases of my life. For the reason is that we didn't go everything by the x-ray. My wife's a professional barrel racer. It's a proven fact to me that barrel horses do better without pads. So if you're talking about the easy-footed horses, just normal good shoeing, then yeah, do your thing. Do whatever you want to. That horse doesn't need anything. Guess what? You got to get creative on this son of a gun, because if you're not careful, that's coming back. So this is what we did. We got, and this is going to sound like this is all part of the plan. This is not part of the plan. I was just kind of feeling my way through this, right? With complaints and feedback from a great horsewoman. And so we're trying to get them out of pads. It's not working. To the point of they brought their expert in one day, and I was like, oh, I know what this means. So what it meant, though, is that you can either bow up and learn right now and try to help this horse, or you're about to get fired. I mean, it's just the way it is. Like if someone asks you or brings in someone else, or a vet starts talking to you, that's a pretty good sign that you're on thin ice. And who could blame them, right? Like you've got this $1 million horse or whatever it is, and if you're not helping them, you probably should get cut. But in this case, we figured it out, and I'm going to show you why. So this is my main guy at home. He's Jeb Hunt. He's absolutely amazing. He's been with me for nearly 6 years. He did this shoeing. So starts with that. Have the big thing for me, Simon's a presentation yesterday. You've seen some great presentations. Simon's presentation makes me think about this, the heel angle on this horse. But look at the depth under the palmar process of the wings of the coffin bone. See the difference in depth? Now look at the difference at this one. Jeb, what he did is he did a salad bowl shoe. And what he did is rockered the toe. So he took that momentum or that lever arm off the toe and actually trimmed it correctly like I didn't in the first horse, right? And he's got depth there. So he is creating a healthy hoof capsule, some clay for us to mold, ultimately. And then look at that. Now we got a positive angle. So if we're looking apples to apples, pretty big improvement, right? So now we got a chance, okay? We had to fix that horse. I'm a big fan of what horse is in front of you today. Is that a lame horse? Yes. Then you're not shoeing a barrel horse. You're shoeing a lame horse. Or you're not shoeing whatever event he does. You need to figure out how to get this horse sound. Then we'll move forward. So now we've got a good blank canvas. Now we need to figure out how to get this horse to run without pads. How do we do it? Salad bowl. So I'm going to show you at the end of this video exactly what I mean, but do you notice how the depth improves and the toe shortens while the shoe actually kind of looks relatively flat? Does that make sense? You can see the big toe bend here on the rocker, but the subtle difference, look at the depth, then look at how much depth this horse has. Are you feeling me? So a flat shoe is flat, like this, right? Solid bowl, you just knock the inside out. So now it looks like a bowl, like that. So you get more depth and a shorter toe. If you don't know how to trim it, like I didn't know how to trim it, you're going to think they're stupid. Trim it right, especially like my man Jeb here did, and they're very effective. So, buddy of mine, Jake Whitman, he also said something that was as soon as he said it, I was like, what a prick. You know? He said, show me a farrier that's good at fixing an issue. Does anybody know the rest? And I'll show you a guy that's good at creating an issue. I'm like, what a prick thing to say. He didn't say it to me. He just kind of said it like in general. I was like, that's stupid. And this was years ago. And like I told you, things that go over your head, now all of a sudden it's starting to make sense. We go rodeo and we get this horse sound. I tell him, hey, I don't know how long we're going to keep these heels from hurting, but every time we took the pads off, he'd get heel sore. Can't do that. So then he'd go from not running average in pads to not running a lick without pads. So we go all summer, and I'm gone with my wife, and we'd meet up with them, and I'd shoe them, and it was just cold, and like, I don't have my forge to really set the rocker in, and I just nail it on cold, and I just start to pull it back a little bit. Well, you got to fit them tight. They're going fast, going all over the world. So I'm pulling them back, fitting them tight, pulling them back, fitting them tight. Guess what happened? He got heel pain. Shocker. And we're back. So this is at my house. It's not a shocker to see a lame horse to anybody, but it really makes you feel bad when you know 100% why it happened and you're the reason why it happened. So I truly contribute that to coming off the toe and losing the depth that I have, losing the leverage at the toe that I had. So you can get away with anything for a couple times. We've all seen that, right? You shoe somebody's horse that was shod well and you do something different, you can get away with it for a couple times. So the best part was I knew what to do. So he was sore on a lateral heel. Float the heel, 3D pad, rocker the toe, take it off, take the leverage off, and everything is fine. But it's very daunting when you know you're the one that caused it, where it makes me wonder how many times these two guys did it. I'm wondering, does this guy in this chair just actually realize it? And we did that all the time and just didn't know it? That's the real question. So, probably not a new thing. What does it actually look like on the foot? That's what it actually looks like on the foot. I'm a big fan of symmetrical rocker toe, and the salad bowl is just symmetrical all the way around, evenly rounded, right? Well, rocker is a great way to just take the leverage off the toe. But the shoe that I like to use the best is actually the 1.0 Eventer that's probably older than I am. And we get caught up in these breakover shoes, and we get caught up in all of these appliances and these things that we can do. And really the take home is you can do it with anything. You can do it with any shoe if you got the skills. And making my forging skills better and learning how to trim and learning how to fit, all of a sudden I'm starting to back away from all of these specialty shoes. Like if you watch what we're doing, we very rarely use aluminum anything anymore. And so think about that for a process. This is literally the next day. No butte, nothing. Same horse that couldn't walk. So I feel like, we all want this hero status, and we all want to help horses. And if you truly want to help horses, and then you start realizing that some of your methods are causing them to go backwards, it's really kind of frustrating for me. So Austin Edens, everybody knows Austin Edens, right? He's world champion blacksmith and very handy guy. He said some of the dumbest things I've ever heard. I remember being at convention and him doing this presentation, and I just remember thinking about, those feet look like crap. And he's talking about how he used to pull feet back and how they looked good at the beginning of the cycle and worse at the end of the cycle. And now his feet look worse at the beginning of the cycle and better at the end of the cycle. I'm like, that makes no sense. This is silly. I've seen horses' lives changed with breakover. Does everybody think breakover actually works in here? Is there anybody that doesn't think it works? Anybody think breakover doesn't exist? Well, I've seen it work so many times that I am a big believer. So that's how I got into this shoe placement that I'm talking about and this trim. It doesn't really matter about the trim, more about the shoe placement, right? That's how Natural Balance got its start, right? You map the bottom of the foot, you put the shoe where it's supposed to go, and the horse does good. Every cowboy farrier in the world loves them because you don't have to know how to trim, you just set them where they go, and the horse feels better, and the horse improves, and the horse looks great radiographically, right? Well, that's how I got into all this mess. Because it turns out there's a horse above that shoe, and it's growing. And Austin, his whole talk was about fitting feet, kind of like what I'm saying now, in this chair. These two guys thought he was dumb, though. So the longer I shoe horses, the more I realize how much I don't know. Early on, I knew everything. Since then, the trade has humbled me more times than I can count. Farriery is easy to learn, impossible to master. So another one of the old guys that you will not see arguing on Facebook, saying stick to the basics. Trim, fit, matters. So this horse is one of my wife's good horses. She won the short round at Pendleton on this horse. And he is amazing. He is also a huge pain in the butt. He is the poster child on the beginning of the left front that looks so good. And then on the right front, we got problems. You know what else problems we got? Not only does he have bad flat-footed feet, but he's got this fun little trick he likes to do. He will pee in the exact same spot every single time. And he's a pig, he'll eat out of his hay bag. So what he likes to do is stretch out like that, and then he'll pee, and then he'll back up, stand in it, and eat every single day. So that's a problem, right? He's also got these other fun tricks he likes to do with his feet. He's hungry. My wife's feeding horses right there. This is from my wife's Facebook. He's also a weaver. So we are tripled down on problems. So this is one of them horses, you know, where you almost wish like someone would buy him so you didn't have to shoe him anymore. But we had to figure out how to make him run better, and it's a whole nother dynamic when your wife owns the horse. So here's the thing, like, you don't have to know a lot about barrel racing to be with me on this one, okay? So this horse is bad to the bone. We've turned down $250 for him twice. Like he's a big deal, but he is flat on the right front. And what's funny about it is when we bought him, the vet said that he is pre-navicular. Don't buy him. I said, what? Pre-navicular. Like, that's like Bernie Chapman used to say, that's like being pre-pregnant because you're attractive. Like, that makes no sense. So I send the x-rays to my buddy Sammy Pittman, and he goes, any horse that's shod like that is pre-navicular. And I'm not talking about this shoeing. Should probably take that off there. But it was just long and low, right? So it was operation attack the toe. The toe must pay. I know this guy said F the toe before. I know this guy has said the toe in that phase of my life. And if you can dream it up, it's probably been on his foot if it involves breakover and palmar support. So I'm just going to flip through some x-rays right here. You're going to look at like this one. Does anybody think this is a good x-ray? This is a good balanced foot, a good shoeing? I think it is. I think it's pretty good. But here's the problem, and try to hang with me, okay? This horse will run about a 17.3 on a standard pattern. Pads on. He's run a 16.9 without pads on. I don't know if you follow barrel racing very much, but a 17.3 might as well say thanks for showing up. Or actually, they usually don't. They're like, see ya. Yeah, they're just taking that money. Please come back. A 16.9, you will be taking their money. Huge difference. So, very important we figure this out. But the problem is this horse has a serious problem. Every time I take he gets heel sore. So, maybe it's because he likes to destroy his feet by pawing or standing in his own pee or just relative being. This is 23, then we're trying this. I'm sorry we don't have more pictures of the feet, but has anybody ever said, I did a really bad job on that foot, I think I'll take a picture of it? See what I mean? Been lied to on Facebook, whether we mean to or not. I mean, you never get the whole story. So with this foot, I want you to look close. What do we got? No sole depth? And look at that coming off the toe. Why is the toe falling apart right there? That's interesting, isn't it? Look, no sole depth again. This horse has never had sole depth, ever. Wire brush only, every time. That's interesting. Look at that, coming off the toe. Well, here we are back experimenting with the big breakover shoe. And this is about the time. What's interesting here is I've tried all these different shoes, you know, so pads don't work, and I experiment with half pads, 3D pads, leather wedge pads, cutting the toe out. I even got to where I wanted to design temporary frog support, and I think that's a good idea. But or you could just figure out how to shoe them right. So here we are again, 24, no sole depth, and still have that long toe. That's the problem, low heel, long toe, right? So about this time, we also got with platinum, and I think that that absolutely helps. I think that in the supplement world, that it kind of goes down as waste of money, or maybe we just hate the supplements because they get more tags on social media than we do, whatever. But I think it really does help, and as this horse progresses, the number one thing that I'm going to show you is that I started shoeing him better. Not so much right here, as you can see, it's the same thing that it has been. But as we work into this, do you notice anything? You see the sole depth right there, or lack of? This horse would just bottom out. All he did was bottom out every time. No sole depth, no heel. No sole depth, no heel. So this was an attempt here with a handmade concave, and just like the earlier horse, I just tried to set it back by fixing it, not by actually changing the trim. Like, I was just stuck in this mentality that if you slide them back, trim them short, everything will be fine. But I went on a trip, and actually Jeff went with us, and several of us. We went to the AFA convention, and everybody went. We went to injured farriery, you know, and it was from our men's group and stuff. And we're just here to set out to help this guy. We're all shoeing for free, so this guy can get some free work while he's down, type of thing. And the craziest thing happened. Dusty Franklin was trimming. I was fitting shoes. I think Jason Crick was nailing them on. Maybe it was a lot of fun. But the thing is I shaped this shoe, and I'm burning it on Dusty's trim, and I'm going down. I'm still not getting the toe burnt on this thing. And I look at the foot, look at the shoe, look at the foot, look at the shoe, going down. I go up to Dusty, and I'm like, hey, I think you over-trimmed that horse over there. He goes, no, I didn't. I meant to do that on purpose. I said, do what, over-trim him? He goes, no, look at the angle of the toe. So, groundbreaking. Right? If you actually change the angle of your trim, it's not just a flat trim like always. I'm going to show you what I learned right there. What he's talking about is trimming at the same angle as the frog. He's actually doing his fellowship on this. It's groundbreaking. But these two guys would think you're talking about a trim, and you're like, oh, we learned how to trim, good for you. Well, maybe, but it's a lot more than I thought it ever was. Because a basic trim is very different from what I'm talking about. You talk about talk to Sammy Pittman about trimming. He'll talk about biplanar trims. You're like, what did he just say? That's what he's talking about, is two different planes in the trim. So there's a lot of different ways you can help these horses once you start actually thinking, maybe I'm the problem. So what do you guys see right here? What do you see? So we put them on platinum. We started thinking that, you know, maybe we should change our trim about this time. What do you see? Yes, but what else do you see? You see some sole depth, huh? Right? Yeah. So, took some toe off, kept pretty good sole depth, and a shorter toe. Well, what I worked him into was the salad shoe that I'm talking about. Blaine, would you bring me those shoes out of my bag right there, please? So these shoes, all it is the salad bowl that I'm talking about. that you knock the inside out. You've probably seen me do it. I do it to literally every front foot now, a little bit. And it's this great thing because it tips your nails in too, so now every shoe is easier to nail on. So you might be talking about you like this shoe or you like that shoe, or this shoe did something. My buddy Blaine is famous for around cysts, you can get around major injuries, you can really help them. But here's the difference. This wasn't a lame horse. This was a barrel horse. And 50-50 in my opinion, and Grant Moon's if you want to plug, won't work on performance horses in normal shoeing. It's not realistic. Yeah, you can make it happen, so did I. You'll also create lots of other stuff in the pursuit of that 50-50 rotation. So right here, I've got center of rotation marked, and as you can see, it's 46 at the back half and 54 at the front half. Well, if I was shoeing them like I was before, we wouldn't have been happy with that. We would have brought them back a little farther with the breakover, and then we'd have left some more shoe out the back. That would have lined up your numbers, and it would have made your x-ray look good, and you'd also tack shoe on him every time he ran. Because if you leave a lot of shoe on a horse that runs and is that physical, you will not keep it on. I don't care how good you shoe, you will never convince me of that. So, maybe that's just me though. I don't know. Do your own research is another thing. Center of articulation I think is more realistic on performance horses is the takeaway, because you can see that those numbers are better. That's 54 at the back and 46 at the front. Does that make sense to everybody? The center of rotation is very popular to shoe around. I'm just telling you, I've come to the realization that on normal horses that are performing at a high level, you can cause more harm than good chasing that. Unless, if you're doing a slower event, say like dressage or something like that, you have an ability to leave more shoe. But the old saying, the faster they go, the tighter they need fit, the slower they go, the longer you can fit them, it's proven very true in my business. So, I want some time for questions here, but I'm just going to show you the product here. Nothing fancy, and I wish I had more pictures, but like I said, last thing we're going to do is take bad pictures. So this is a good version of this horse. And like Austin Edens was saying, they look better at the end of the cycle now than they did at the beginning. And what I had to wrap my mind around was being programmed that a little more toe is okay. These guys, if they heard me say that right now, they would call me everything but smart. But the reality is that I always say God had a good plan when he built the horse, and we keep it where that was originally supposed to be, you're not going to have a problem. Well, that makes sense when he's missing half his hoof wall, right? Then you just put a shoe on right there where it should have been, and everything's good. We can agree with that too, except for the toe. Toe, it's got to go. Well, now the heel's hurt. We proved that, right? So, this is sped up. You can see he's an absolute idiot. I love him though. But I'm going to start that over. Okay. So I'm going to show you how I did this, and then right here, one more time. That is just a basic good shoeing, in my opinion. Plenty of sole depth. Didn't overdo anything, and just rockering the toe just a little bit really does help achieve breakover while fitting the toe. That's the whole thing. Use breakover, use your pads, use your rockers, do whatever crazy things you want. I don't care, I'll do it, I'll probably do it this week. But you're gonna have to fit the foot because you don't get to cheat it. So here's my idiot. There's me. So just knocking the inside of the shoe down is literally step one. And then just shaping the shoe. I sped it up just because I didn't want to bore anybody here. So rockering the toe as I did right there. It doesn't take much, and if your forging skills are great, this will take you just seconds. But if your forging skills aren't that good, I encourage you to practice. You don't have to be a competitor. You don't have to be into certification. Yes, all that stuff will help you, but knowing how to do these little modifications will really help. And in fact, I've even done the salad bowl cold to an eventer, which is one of the thickest shoes that there is, right? I mean, not that there is, but I mean, it's not a cold banger shoe, and you can do it. You just use the round side, hit it hard, hit the inside. So right here is the take home, right there. You see the angle of that toe? The toe quarters ultimately are burnt back into the foot. And right there, no matter how I burnt it in there, I always have to rasp just a little bit more. It's always farther than I think. And since I started doing this to horses that are long and low, you think that you're going to over-trim them, or I would think that I'm going to over-trim them, mainly because I have over-trimmed a lot of horses that are long and low, trying to make them look good, right? Has anybody else been there? Yeah. Well, I'm sure since I'm about to say this, it'll happen to me tomorrow, but I haven't had one get sore. Because the take-home message for me is, oh, look at that toe right there. There we go. That's it. It's not a lot, but it sure makes a big difference. The take-home message for me is if I trim the foot exactly how I would the first time, just a regular flat trim, like you do your every day of your life, do that, get it level, you're done, and then go back and trim that foot. You start at the white line and just trim it away, and you will shorten the toe and you'll leave the depth. And then when you have the salad bowl, it's going to lengthen the depth. Seriously, haven't had a single horse get sore. And I think the reality is that, right, they'll get sore mainly under the sensitive
corium, right? Under the coffin bone, everything that's right there. So if we're adding depth to that and shortening the toe, I think that's the secret sauce. So these shoes, I had a client put all the shoes down in the sidewalk, right? And that was cool at the time, but it was when these guys shot them, you know? And I saw them the other day as a client that the guys normally go to, and I was so embarrassed. The shoes did not look like this. These shoes, if you look at them, the toenail is lined with the heel nail. The toenail is lined with the heel nail. The toe is just as wide or more narrow than the heels. On all those other ones that I had to set back, the toes are really wide and the heels are really narrow. So you wonder why the heels have so much pressure. It's because it's like the leaning tower, right? They're coming in, they're losing all of their power. So I want you to so Yogi Sharp, this guy is one of the greatest farriers on education on Facebook land. Please go there. He's got his own website. It's a good thing. And I want you to look at this picture, but I want you to take out the soft tissue injury factor. I just want you to look at how the foot works. If you keep it where God meant it to be, everything's going to be fine. So these guys that said that the toe had to go, screw the toe, that's what's going to happen. You're going to have improper movement. The toe is important. The horse has a toe and a heel and all this stuff because it's all important. Here's some cold hard facts. If you don't fit the toe, you will have failure. If you can't use your toenails, you didn't fit the toe. Breakover does matter. If I am telling you to fit the toe, I'm telling you I like a short toe. So this is how I have got it shorter. If you can't find a way to get a shorter toe, you will not be working in Weatherford, Texas. I will tell you that. So it's important to have a balanced foot. It's not about the shorter toe, it's about a balanced foot that's working properly. Center of rotation, my opinion on performance horses, isn't always ideal. Know if you're shoeing a lame horse or a performance horse. What's his job? You want to go after center rotation on a barrel horse? You're going to be putting lots of shoes on if you're fitting them full, right? X-rays are life-changing, but they're only two-dimensional. So when you look at it, that doesn't factor in how the horse actually likes them. So this other thing, you know, if I could send you guys home with one thing, I would remind you, don't be like I used to be. Don't be like I am now even. Let's focus on being great. Let's focus on people like I'm about to talk about. Bernie Chapman, you know, they do a Bernie Chapman Memorial Lecture up here every year, and I really you guys know who he is because none of us would be anybody without him. Because he ultimately didn't design the heart bar, but he gave it a lot of purpose and saved thousands of horses. You talk to Blaine, there was pre-Facebook, you talk to Blaine, his phone would ring off the hook at night from people internationally calling saying, hey, I heard there's this groundbreaking shoe that you're doing. Tell me about it. Come help us. Come save us. Come do all this stuff. They would unplug their phone at night because it would literally ring all night. That is the level of people that came before us. 2, Myron McLean, the old man that was hanging out while we were here. There wouldn't be a single frog pad here if it wasn't for Myron McLean, and there'd be no Myron McLean if there wasn't a Bernie Chapman before him. You know what I'm saying? What really embarrasses me about these two guys right here, me when I was younger, is the pure ignorance of thinking that I had it figured out. The pure ignorance of not realizing that people like this existed. That people are awesome everywhere. And then you see these Facebook arguments, and then we jump in them and we're going to tell somebody this or tell somebody that. You ain't going to see the people that we really want the advice from on there. Bob Pethick, education in farriery is like collecting pieces to a jigsaw puzzle. Each puzzle piece gives us understanding to the other pieces. He's in his 55th year of shoeing horses, and I still don't have all the pieces of that puzzle. We all continue to learn with each horse we shoe. Every educational opportunity we should take advantage of. Dave Farley, another great man who's got things figured out, who's always willing to give back too. In farrier, basic knowledge is critically important and the foundation for a farrier at all levels. Center of a freshly trimmed frog should always be the center of the foot. Center of rotation isn't debatable. Ground surface of hoof wall almost always is.
Look down the leg while on the top stand and evaluate. An inexperienced farrier is one who can trim and apply a shoe to normalize what's out of balance and in front of them. Travis Burns got off Facebook because he was so frustrated with the lack of sense that people
On there.
the smartest farriers I know. Always ask why and challenge ideas. Challenging ideas to make them better are not encouraged, it's expected and required for success. Surround yourself with people who recognize they don't have all the answers but want to find them. I'm showing you some of the brightest stars in our industry, and they're saying they don't have it figured out. If you think you got it figured out, you're being these guys. Sammy Pittman, Hall of Famer, vet farrier. Trim is the basis of it all. Trimming a flat foot that doesn't grow flat isn't going to work. Sound familiar? I never trim a foot flat unless it's always subtle based on biomechanics, meaning what does that horse need? Meaning a biplanar trim is ultimately what I'm showing you how to shorten the toe. He doesn't even touch the dorsal wall. Why? Turns out you'll cause heel failure by doing that. This is one of my best friends, Chris Cox. This isn't specific to our industry is why I put him on here. You know, it's a state of mind. Learning is contagious, and the more you learn, the more you want to learn. Having humility helps you grow every day, and then we can change as needed. And if you know anything about my story, I wouldn't be anywhere if it wasn't for Grant Moon. And learning is about keeping traditions alive. Today's innovations, once they normalize, will become tradition. Think of Myron McLean, and then 3D pads, and so on and so forth, right? Then the continuing process of learning continues. Grant is proud to be a small part standing on the shoulders of great farriers. If I could inspire any of you, I would inspire you to, I would say, don't be those guys. Consider that you might be the problem. Consider that you might have to learn more. Consider changing the way you do things, because some of the hardest cases that I couldn't get fired from, I learned the most at. And I'm just here to help you. I'm not here to criticize you. I probably showed you more failures in all of this of mine than successes, but I did show you how to get out of the hole that I got into, and I hope it helps you, and if it does help you, I hope you help someone else with it. But I'm going to stop with that, and if you got any questions, I'd love to hear them. We got a few minutes here, and I would love some great questions. And yeah.
That salad bowl is so minor. Do you know why that's working better for you in getting sole depth than just putting some sole relief into the shoe?
Yeah. So the question is if the salad bowl is so minor, what did you say? If the salad bowl is so minor, why was it effective?
Why was it more effective than just grinding sole relief into the shoe?
Beautiful. Why was it more effective doing a salad bowl than just grinding it into the shoe? That is a great question. Thank you. And if somebody else could come up with another hard one, that'd be great. So why it's effective is I want you to think about it when you grind this shoe. What are you doing? You're taking material away, right? What if you bent it? If you push down on this, what happens over there? Right? So really it's a twofer. So if I bring this down a quarter of an inch maybe, that'd be a long ways. When I say it's not much, it's probably a quarter of an inch. So I'm getting a quarter of an inch of depth on this side and shortening on this side. So when you burn this on or rasp it in, you have to rasp the sides in too. So you're shortening the outside and lengthening the inside by twice. Grinding, you're only getting it once, and you're only taking it away, and you're not changing the angle of the trim, and you're running into the same thing that I ran into with setting shoes back. Does that make sense? It's not shortening it, right? Yeah.
I'm sorry to ask you, burn anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How far back the toe? I didn't really understand the flat shoe, and he just took the toe from
Yeah. Yeah, I would say from just imagine your toenails of your shoe forward. Make sense? That's ultimately all I'm really asking you guys to do too. The only thing that I've seen rockers fail though is when you make them too square. And that works great in straight lines, but pretty much every horse we work on has to turn, right? So that's why I like the Eventer, is because it's got a round edge all the way around. And that's why I like the Salad Bowl, because it's round all the way around. So it's ultimately an omnidirectional breakover shoe, just simplified. Make sense? Yeah. Oh, we got good questions coming.
Now we got it.
Perfect.
Hey, thanks for sharing your knowledge, and we really appreciate this. So, what are you using for pads, and what are you using for support in your pads? You didn't mention that, so I just want to.
Yeah. What a great question. You know, I work with Musted, and they have great pads, and we have access to all the cool stuff. And Derek Poupard is a great friend of mine, and the 3D pads have changed a lot of lives for us. Like, what pad to use? Use a 3D pad if it's serious. Like, if I have an actual hoof wall damage, got to use a bar shoe and load the frog somehow. Really like a frog support insert welded in. I like to do my own, and they fit better and they're fast. And then I pair it with a leather pad underneath of that. If you've got heel pain, or if you've got things that need blood flow, normal foot function, a bar shoe is going to be less effective, and then the 3D pad is going to be more effective because it's like in the middle of leather and bar shoe. So I love the 3D pad with dental impression material. The only kicker is if you start using dental impression material, you'll have horses sometimes get sore. Reason why that happens is because on the collateral grooves, or the central sulcus of the frog even, the dental impression material molds and creates a point. Then you got this whole horse standing on this point, driving it into the bottom of his foot with every step. So if you take some clay, I like Artimud, underneath of that dental impression material, it makes the dental impression set up like this instead of like this and mirroring the sides of the frog. So if you're going to use dental impression material, do it like that. What is my favorite all-time pad? I say all of that to say I love leather. I know it sounds 1.0. I know it sounds super basic. I've never seen any feet come back as good with leather and magic cushion. Keep it simple, and the feet just blossom. And I really think it comes down to the basic foot function and blood flow is improved, because if you see a horse that's just impacted, everything just looks like it hurts, you put a leather pad on, they will grow twice as fast that cycle. You'll come back and you'll be like, oh my gosh. You'll have a bunch of trim off. The client will wonder what happened. Maybe I got to where I tell them, hey, this foot is about to grow very, very fast. So that's what I like on pads.
Thank you, that was a great and thought-provoking presentation. I just have one question. Forward migration of the hoof capsule is a reality in my everyday practice, being environment, metabolic state, or conformation. But that means that many times the hoof capsule, as a reference, doesn't match where the bony column is. So hitting the toe many times is creating a long extensor lever arm that promotes a vicious cycle of distortion that I find hard to get away from sometimes. So shooting to a bony column, even if that means backing the toe, it's what's given me, in my experience, best results in improving hoof mass and geometry. So I just wanted your thoughts on that. Thank you very much.
So if everybody doesn't know, Ramon, he lives in, where? What? He doesn't live in Chile. He lives in Costa Rica, don't you? Yeah. I want to hang out with that guy. He's cool, and he's super handy. So for him asking this question, he is just proving my point of that always continue to learn. So what I would tell you, you're talking about you just can't get ahead of your feet ultimately, right? Because of environmental. Is that accurate? Yeah? Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, in my country, many other horses have subclinical metabolic or insulin resistance, and that creates a lot of distortion for migration of the hoof capsule as well, or contributes to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're talking metabolic, as you know, that's a whole nother can of worms. But when those horses that you can't get ahead of, it just every time you come, it's just like you're just fixing the damage every time. One thing that I would tell you, you know all of the tricks. You are a very handy guy with all of the mechanics. But this is what I would tell you is that if you remember this, where we went from this situation, this was pure chaos. And then we got a little bit better with getting the shoe placement where it needed to be, supporting the back half of the foot, switching to leather, shortening the toe, created this blank canvas for us and got the foot right, and then we could move forward. So if it was me in your situation, I would be really focusing on getting something to work with that's in the right direction. So start with something rigid like a 3D pad plus breakover, grow into something lighter with leather pad, something to stimulate better hoof growth with shortening the breakover somehow, however you want to do that. But this was a very effective way to do it. Does that answer your question?
All right, so I kind of want to challenge you on something you said and ask a question following up with it. I 100% agree with you. The toe is very important and we need to protect it and not pull it back, right? So something you said about center of rotation versus center of articulation. Center of rotation has been shown scientifically. You shoot around it is the most biomechanically efficient location to shoot. And I understand your point about barrel horses.
Right.
You can't shoot a barrel horse or a race horse like you shoot your sawed horse.
Right.
But the reason I challenged you on the shooting around the center of rotation, Dr. Weller said in her studies that we have, once a horse gets injured, 60% of the time it doesn't come back to its full effectiveness and work.
Right.
So if we're shooting around a biomechanical, we know efficiency and trying to prevent injuries in order to get them back, would it be beneficial to, I know you can't fit longer, but moving your rocker back to second nail hole, third nail hole, but maybe less aggressive so that you're not getting into sensitive tissue. You know what I mean? Like a French roll. Have you done that in your experience? Has that been different than more of a traditional rocker? Have you played around with that? I just wanted to get your thoughts on what you've done with these speed events. I don't do a lot of speed event horses. Have you tried that in the speed events? Has it worked, or is this rocker better than the speed events?
What a great question. Thank you for being willing to challenge me, and I really appreciate your thought process. Your thought process is kind of how I got in that mess to begin with, is by pursuing it a little further. And so Weller's presentations were great, but they remind me a lot of Mark Caldwell's studies too, and which are also great. But the thing is that on speed horses, I don't think it's possible unless you're going to not be competing, or you're the long French rocker. Yeah, I mean, I like where your head's at, but my whole point of this presentation is that something's got to give, because that French rocker, yeah, brilliant way to try to find another way to do it. Well, that's good thinking. I like it. Personal opinion, it's not going to work on barrel horses, because if you have that long toe of lots of breakover, you're going to get complaints about how the horse isn't moving good, how on the back side of the barrel they're picking their feet up too quickly. I get that all the time from big, long rockers and rock and roll toe even. So in my opinion, you're so right. We don't ever want to hurt horses, and I don't want you to either. But in reality, because I was trying to have the center of rotation shot around, I was causing other problems. So do I have it figured out? Absolutely not. Do I think I can cause just as much problems by going after center of rotation? Yes, I do on this one, this type of shoeing. Does that make sense? But if you find a way to add to that